Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me here today. It's really an honor for me to be here with the Noble Foundation. So today I'm going to provide that retailer's perspective. For me, I'm not a producer. I'm coming from the retail perspective. I'm coming from the city, and so it's a different perspective from that. But I think it's a really important perspective in the sense of, well, what are we trying to accomplish, and what role do the retailers play in helping to meet our customers' expectations as well. So today I'm going to talk about three things: why sustainability is important to McDonald's. Like, why does McDonald's care about sustainability, and specifically with regards to beef? And what does McDonald's mean by sustainability? And then how do we approach it? What are we doing about it? And what's our strategy here? So in terms of why we care about beef sustainability, first reason is assured supply and risk management. At the end of the day, this is the fundamental definition of sustainability. There's always the question, what does sustainability mean for McDonald's? At the most foundational level, sustainability is the ability to keep doing what you're doing. And we want to make sure that we keep having beef in our restaurants for our customers anytime that they want it. And then being able to understand where our product comes from so that we can manage risk in our supply chain and make sure that we're planning for all potential occurrences there. But one of the downfalls of that definition of sustainability is the whole idea of just being able to keep doing what you're doing isn't a very aspirational or exciting idea. And I imagine for many of you here, just leaving your land the way you got it isn't what you want to do for your next generations. And those of you I've spoken to, what gets you excited is how leaving it better for next generations as well. And that's the same for our employees. And as we think about our values as a business for McDonald's, it's not just about being able to keep selling hamburgers. It's about what's our role in the world. We have over 36,000 restaurants around the world. About 70 million people a day go through our restaurants around the world. And it's a tremendous responsibility, and it's also a tremendous opportunity. Each one of those touch points is an opportunity to have a positive impact on those customers, and it's also an opportunity for us to have a positive impact throughout our supply chain as well. It's also about increasing resource efficiency and supply chain savings for us. We're in a very competitive marketplace, and we want to be able to offer a great value to our customers as well. And so being efficient with our resources is a top priority for us. I know one of the fears of sustainability is, well, what's it going to cost me? And that's a big question as well as we look at investments in our restaurants and balance energy efficiency improvements and water efficiency improvements and look at renewable energy options. It's always a question, well, what's that going to cost? What's that going to do to the P&L of our restaurants? And I know that's a concern throughout the supply chain. Our goal is not to add costs throughout. We want to figure out how do we work with our whole supply chain to identify opportunities for more efficiencies and cost savings so that we can be even more competitive in the marketplace for the long run as well. And then finally, there's the customer. And we see sustainability as a really important opportunity to strengthen trust with our customers. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this trust piece as well, because it's something that it's a hot topic, this idea. Well, what does the customer want? Does the customer even understand that food doesn't come from the grocery store? And that it comes from the whole supply chain and all that the work that goes into making sure that the food that we eat is there and is available every day for them. And so how do we talk about trust? How do we think about it? And one of the first things that it's to recognize as we think about trust is that lack of trust in our supply chain and in the food system in general. And it's a tough topic to talk about. I know from a McDonald's perspective, we're extremely proud of the food we serve our customers. We love our food. We're huge advocates of our food. And when I sit at a dinner party and somebody says, well, you work at McDonald's, but do you really feed chicken McNuggets to your children? I have to take a step back for a second and then figure out how I'm going to answer them. And I've got some good answers worked up over the years. But that really impacts us. But the important thing is recognizing with our customers that there are challenges in that trust. And so we like any other challenge, we recognize it and we figure out, well, what are the strategies we're going to work with around it. So here's just one quick illustration of the challenge we're facing. And this is a group we work with called GlobeScan. And this is global data here. But if you look at, well, who do people trust in terms of institutions? Think about what your trust level is of the federal government, and then look where that national government lands. And then McDonald's, we are a global company. Look where we land. So we do have trust issues. And so it's also important for us that we have partnerships throughout as well. Because when we look at groups like the Noble Foundation and NGOs, they play a very important role in that conversation. And so having everybody at the table is a really important factor for rebuilding that trust with the American consumer. And then is another illustration on where's the food and beverage industry. And once again, this is global level data. On this side, the food and beverage is on the net positive trust, just barely. But if you look from 2014 to 2016, that trust had a pretty significant decline. And then if we break that down further to, well, where does the U.S. stand? The food and beverage companies are on the negative side here. The positive is that it did improve from 2014 to 2016 there. So there's a good positive trend there too, towards more trust. So as an example of how this plays out for a retail business, and here I'm going to need a little bit of audience participation. Besides beef, can anybody tell me the secret ingredient in our hamburger? There are two more. So after grilling it, we add salt and pepper to it. We've got a lot of food scientists who work on that and have identified those ingredients. For about 50 years, we've been communicating that our beef patties are 100% beef. You can look it up on your phone. This is the ingredients label from a screenshot from my phone here. 100% USDA inspected beef. Now, if you go back to that trust diagram, we do have a challenge here. This is a statement from a global company, Zero Trust, referencing the federal government, which is +1 trust. So. But we've communicated this on our packaging. We put it on billboards. Again, on our packaging. We communicated in multiple languages all around the world, and still, people say, "Really, what's in your hamburgers? How can you sell me a double cheeseburger for $1.39 and still have it be real beef?" So this is an illustration of how that trust affects us as a business here. So why is beef important to us as well in terms of sustainability? So first, when we look at beef sustainability specifically, and we look at our environmental impacts, beef is the biggest part of our environmental impact. Also, for McDonald's, we are a beef company. We started as a hamburger company. We sell hamburgers, and that's what our aspiration is to be, is a modern, progressive hamburger company. And so beef and beef sustainability are essential to our growth as a company. So what does sustainability mean for McDonald's? Moving on to the second topic here. Our vision statement is we envision a food system where people, animals, and the planet thrive. So it's, once again, it's not just sustaining, it's how do we create a system where we're thriving, we're all thriving together. We have a framework that helps us assess and talk about sustainability. I hesitate to say this is our definition of sustainability, but we talk about it in terms of our 3 E's. It's got to be ethical, environmental, and economic. And you can't have just one of those without the other 2. And a lot of times when we're dealing with different stakeholder groups, they might come to us and they might have a specific animal health and welfare issue, or they might have a specific issue on water. And those are great, and we need to engage with those people that are real passionate and dedicated to those individual issues. But we, as a retailer, we got to be able to take the conversation back a little bit and look at the bigger picture as well and say, okay, how does that one specific issue balance with the full spectrum here as well? And then within these three E's, we've identified 7 different impact areas that we're committed to focusing on. The 7 areas are human rights, animal health and welfare, farming, climate change, forests, water, and waste. Those are the 7 areas that we're trying to work on as well. Another thing I'm really excited to share with you guys today specifically is that today, or this week, we've published our first ever beef sustainability report. And it's a global report that captures what we're doing on beef sustainability around the world. So this is the cover page of it. You can find it on aboutmcdonalds.com. It's live, it's there. Really encourage you to check it out. A couple things I want to call out in this one title. First of all, the title's Helping Lead a Global Movement for Sustainability. And the first word, helping. It's not anything that McDonald's is doing by ourselves. We recognize we're one small piece in this puzzle, and it requires everybody at the table together. And I'm sorry, Hugh, this is going to contradict the name of the conference here, but it's a movement for beef sustainability, and you'll notice it's not a movement for sustainable beef. And it might be a linguistics thing here, but I think there's an important distinction there in terms of how we're thinking about how we're approaching sustainable beef and beef sustainability. Sustainable beef could be a marketing claim. Could be, well, begs the question of, oh, if this beef is sustainable, what's this other beef over here that's not sustainable? And that comparison. And those comparisons might have their place, and they might have a time and a place in discussion, and certain companies might want to make different marketing claims, and that's fine and good, but we think that the most productive conversations we can have and the biggest opportunity for impact is when we look at beef sustainability as a process, and a process that requires everybody at the table all working together and recognizing that it is continuous improvement. It's a journey. Supporting the roundtable is a really important factor for us in terms of how we operate, because we know we need the input from the full value chain. With the beef sustainability report that we just published, we also published a new approach to beef sustainability and to working with farmers and ranchers. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that in terms of now what we're doing and how we're doing it. And it's really built on 3 pillars: accelerating industry progress, recognizing it's great to work with a small group of farmers on a project, but it also what we're doing has to apply to the full industry as well, given the size, for it to be relevant for McDonald's in our size and scale. Being a resource to help share knowledge and tools throughout the industry as well, and for farmers. And then pioneering new practices. Where can we invest in innovation and research to help advance sustainability in the beef industry? So within each of these 3 pillars, we've also set 2020 targets. So for accelerating industry progress, our goal is to be able to purchase beef from programs that are aligned with the U.S. Roundtable and the Global Roundtable for Sustainable Beef's principles and criteria. And so that by 2021, we want to be able to start making sure that beef, our supply chain itself, with the way that we purchase, is supporting those systems there. Under sharing knowledge and tools, to be able to have programs where we are partnering with farmers in our top 10 countries that supply beef. So programs like the Integrity Beef Sustainability Pilot as well there would be an example of what that could look like. And then finally, under pioneering new practices, we want to have in each of our top 10 markets partnerships with innovative farms and agricultural organizations where we can invest in advancing innovation and practices. So along with our announcement today about the Integrity Beef Project, we also have, we're also announcing an investment in a research project out of Arizona State University to try to quantify the value of specific grazing practices in terms of value for rancher productivity, but also value in terms of the ability to store carbon in the soil, and then to be able to track that as potential ways of showing improvement in greenhouse gas emissions as well. We're really excited about that particular project in the sense that it turns the conversation on beef from that slide where I showed you, and it says, okay, beef is our biggest impact, to how do we quantify the ways that beef is part of the solution in our environmental impact as well. And flipping that conversation is I think key to really recognizing the important role that beef plays in our national and global ecosystems as well, and local. So just to conclude, beef is important to McDonald's. It's essential to us, and sustainability is important to us. It's important to our customers. It's important to our business continuation, for risk management, for affordability to our customers, and competitiveness in the marketplace. And because of this, we're committed to working with farmers and ranchers, just as we've worked with our suppliers for over 60 years. And we recognize that this is a long-term process. This is not something that we expect to come in, flip a switch, bam, we're all sustainable. We're on the journey. It's a process. We want to be there with you guys. We really appreciate the engagement with groups like the Noble Foundation and Integrity Beef on this project as we strive to learn more. And we'll also be talking about the project a little bit more after lunch as well. So thank you very much for having me here today, and really appreciate the time.